Hey YouTube, my name is Nicholas and welcome to Tech Weekly. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to install Windows 10 Technical Preview in a VirtualBox running on a host machine using Windows 8. To start this tutorial, we must first go to preview.windows.com, and from here we are going to download the ISO file to download Windows 10. Download links will be in the description. Once we go to this website, we will be introduced to a page on the Windows site, and we must click Get Started, where you will have to sign in with your Microsoft account. Once you have done this, you will be introduced to a page with all the download links. On this page, scroll down to where all the download files are. You may select an ISO file for your language or your processor type, and in our tutorial, we will be using the English 64-bit version with a download size of 3.81 GB. If your machine does not contain a 64-bit compatible processor, you may need to download the 32-bit version. Once we have downloaded our file, it will be present in your saved location, in this case on my desktop. We must now prepare our disk. First, we must open Disk Management by right-clicking on the Windows button and clicking Disk Management. You will be introduced to a dialog that will show all of the disks that are present within your machine. To create a new virtual disk, click on Action and click Create VHD. You will be asked to set the location for your virtual hard disk, so browse for a location to save it, name it and click Save. Then you must create how big your virtual hard disk will be. In our case, we would recommend a 20 GB hard drive if you plan on installing a few programs. Leave the virtual hard disk format as VHD. In this case, I will be using a dynamically expanding hard disk, whereas you may also use a fixed size hard disk. This may, however, take a bit longer to process. Click OK once this is done. A new disk will be created within the dialog. As you can see, it is not initialized and it contains 20 GB of space. Right-click on Disk 2, or whatever your disk is called, and click Initialize Disk. Keep your disk as a master boot record, otherwise Windows may not be able to boot. Our disk has now been created and is online. However, to use it within Oracle VirtualBox, we must first deattach it from the system. Once this is done, we are now ready to install the virtual machine. A download link for Oracle VirtualBox will be in the description. To create the new machine, click on New at the top left-hand corner and give your virtual machine a name. Because Windows 10 is not yet recognized by VirtualBox, we must select Windows 8.1. Click Next and then select the amount of memory you are going to give your virtual machine. In my case, I am going to use 4096 MB of RAM, which is equivalent to 4 GB. Your machine may not be able to use this amount of RAM, so you may set it as something as lower as 2048, which is 2 GB. Click Next. Because we have already created our hard drive, we are going to select an existing virtual hard drive. Browse for the file that we created earlier and click Create. Our virtual machine is now created. The next step we have to do is double click on it to launch it. From here on, you will notice that it has failed to boot. We must first select the ISO file that we previously created. Go to the Devices menu and choose a virtual hard disk file. We must now reboot the virtual machine. The virtual machine will pretend that the ISO file is a DVD drive. This part of the process may take a while. Once Windows has booted, select your language. In this case, we have only one option. Select the time and currency format for your country, and once this is done, select your keyboard or input method type and click Next. We are now ready to install Windows. Once the setup has started, you will be greeted with a menu prompting you to accept the license terms. Click I accept and click Next. In this case, we are installing Windows only, so click Custom and select our hard disk drive and click Next. This portion of the journey will take a while, as Windows must now install all the necessary files so Windows 10 can run within your virtual machine. Once Windows 10 is rebooted, the computer will set up your devices. In this case, it will detect your mouse and keyboard. And once this is done, it will ask us to continue setting up the computer. This process may take a while and the computer may once again reboot. We are now at the setup page, and in this case we are going to customize our settings. If you're on a Wi-Fi network or a network which is in your home, click yes for home and work networks, otherwise click no for a public Wi-Fi network. In this tutorial we will keep all these settings as they are so that our computer will automatically update drivers, apps and all those other types of settings. We must now set up our account. In this part we must sign in with a Microsoft account. However, if you would not like to sign in with a Microsoft account, click on create a new account at the bottom and select sign in without a Microsoft account. Give your computer a username, a password, and a password hint. The virtual machine will now finalize your settings. Alright, and we're done. We will now be greeted with our new desktop. We will cover Windows 10 in detail in future videos, but as a basic rundown, as you may see, the start menu is now back. We have a new feature called Task View, which allows us to set up new desktops. And Microsoft has also set up an application called Windows Feedback, which allows you to give feedback about your user experience. However, if you would like to use this service, you will need to sign in with a Microsoft account, so it is highly recommended that you do so. If your host operating system is running Windows 8, you also have the option to boot from the virtual machine as a dual boot. We are going to install a program called EasyBCD. A download link will be in the description. Once EasyBCD is installed, we are going to go to the Add New Entry button, and under Portable and External Media Disk Images, we are going to name our virtual machine, which will come up on the boot menu. Select a path, and from this path, select the virtual hard disk we earlier created. Then click Add Entry. However, I have already created a Windows 10 dual boot, as you may see. Once you restart Windows 8, you will be prompted to boot from either Windows 8 or Windows 10. If you do use EasyBCD to do this, you still have the option to boot from Oracle VirtualBox as well. That is the end of our tutorial. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for future videos. Be sure to like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter and subscribe to us on YouTube.